Hey, what is up, mortals? Welcome to part 1 season 3 of What If Izuku Had a Villain Quirk. I just wanted to greet you guys by just saying, sit back and relax, you're in for a treat. So, we begin. At the sound of the announcement, the two took off towards the end of the combat zone. Both knew that their chances at passing would be greater if they simply avoided their homeroom teacher. Izuku knew that the man excelled in hand-to-hand combat, especially when going against smaller numbers or one-on-one. This did not mean that they were unprepared for a fight. Momo had created a bow staff and some wraps so Izuku could use his martial arts knowledge without risking harm from his own attacks. The two had planned thoroughly for the exam and could only hope that they would be able to scrape by and pass the practical test. The two moved at a jogging pace, not wanting to encounter Aizawa but knowing that wasting their stamina was not wise. Midoriya already had his goggles on. In the case he would actually be able to use his quirk, he would need them to see through the thick vapor. The atmosphere around them only grew more tense the longer they did encounter Eraserhead. The tension was only interrupted by fear as a familiar capture wrapped around the goggled teen and propelled him backwards into the wall of a building, a groan of pain escaping him. Yaoyorozu ran to him, helping him up from where he fell to the ground. The duo gazed at the origin of the bandage like appendages, anxiously returning the gaze of two glowing, crimson eyes. As I expected, both of you are analysts, and had already determined that I was picked specifically to render your quirks useless. In that planning, I'm guessing you thought you could just avoid me. The greasy-haired man chuckled as he stared at his students. Sorry, brats, but I'm not that easy to avoid or run away from. The man's capture tool shot out at them and they both narrowly dodged the attack. Izuku attempting to use his stun gas combo, only for his quirk to be nullified at the last moment. The hero instantly lunged towards him and grabbed him by the collar, throwing him at Momo and launching them both back. The duo got back up and charged at their teacher, the raven-haired girl sweeping her staff low at their teacher's knees, instinctively making him jump to dodge it. In midair, the jungle-haired boy slammed the heel of his palm into the solar plexus of their teacher, briefly stunning him. However, he was back to nullifying their quirks before they could even think about using them. The process continued, the duo landing glancing blows on their teacher and receiving bruising ones in return. You two aren't too bad, but you're both far from pro-hero ready. The capture tool successfully caught them both, Yaoyorozu by her ankles and Izuku by his wrists. Both your fighting styles are unrefined and inexperienced. Even when you landed a hit on me, the power of it was unbalanced, allowing me to recover from it quickly. Shadow lifted his goggles, allowing his eyes to bore into his students. He brought his students closer, keeping them just beyond physical reach. The man highly doubted they could do anything to him physically, but wanted to stay on the safe side. You're right, Aizawa-sensei. Our fighting styles aren't ready, and we may overuse and rely on our quirks. Crimson eyes briefly flicked over to the student he had bound by his wrists. But you are also right about us being analysts, the best in our class. Confusion and annoyance crossed the pro's face as he turned to the female student, and received a face full of sand. He clutched his eyes and screamed in pain as the tiny particles made contact with his exposed eyes. Cursing his earlier actions, Midoriya let out a concentrated blast of his fear toxin, blasting their teacher away and loosening the capture tool's hold upon them. The hero wiped his eyes and opened them, struggling to keep them open. The greasy-haired man's face paled slightly at whatever hallucination he began to see. Quiet murmurs of "it's not real" came from him as he tried his hardest to fight the poison. Suddenly, the thud of a bow staff hitting his head echoed in the area as he was flung onto his back. In his daze from the blow and the fear-inducing mirages he was experiencing, the student team managed to truss up their opponent in handcuffs, rope, and a blindfold. As a final touch, Izuku forcefully removed their instructor's support items, putting them in a box his friend had supplied. They wanted to be absolutely sure that, unlike their teacher, their foe would not be able to turn the tides of the battle. The triumphant students dragged their captured teacher outside of the combat zones and cheered as the robotic voice declared they had passed. The two quickly set to work on releasing their captive, who rubbed his wrists where the handcuffs had been. "Oh, I'm impressed, you two. I never saw that coming." Eraserhead's black eyes peered down at them as he stood up. "That wasn't just luck. That was intelligence and skill. I'm happy to see that, despite the both of you still relying heavily on your quirk, you can bode without it." Twin smiles of excitement met the praise of 1A's teacher as the three of them exited the area, heading to the monitor room, albeit a little more bruised than when they had first entered. The group in the room slowly began to grow as the other students completed their practicals, each new addition cheering for their fellow classmate. At the same time, they all collectively felt sympathy towards Kaminari and Mina, who had lost rather miserably to the incredible intellect and sadistic nature of Principal Nezu. While they were happy about Zero appearing to pass his exams, they weren't exactly thrilled at the idea of Minda coming with them on the trip. Izuku was quick to suggest that his female friend buy some pepper spray for the camping trip in case the diminutive pervert tried anything. During the 10th and final round, All of the occupants of the room felt relief that they had not been the ones to have gone against the symbol of peace. The sheer destruction that the area had gone through was ridiculous. Katsuki and Todoroki managed to scrape by, finally working together and freezing All Might in place before blasting him away. The two were quick to dash out of the combat zone, ending the practical exams on a high note. The pupils of Wano were driven back to the school and were quickly administered care by the short healer Hiro. The students were shortly sent home afterwards, Katsuki and Shoto staying a while longer to heal up. The final exams of Wano were officially over. Everyone had recovered for the most part when they met up back at school, at least physically. A gloomy attitude seemed to revolve around all of the students who had failed their practical. When Aizawa entered, he announced what the students were expecting: that the two teams in Zero, due to him being knocked out in the fight, had failed their practicals. They were all bemoaning the loss of their privilege to go on. That was until their homeroom teacher dropped a bombshell. The whole thing with those who failed not being able to come was just another logical ruse to get the heroes in training riled up. The 5 teens were quick to celebrate. The once gloomy aura now sunny and cheerful, that is until Aizawa revealed that they would be receiving extra lessons in order for them to catch up. Excitement was palpable in the air for the entire day, only being amplified as the last bell tolled for the day. The Wano class was chatting amongst themselves about the trip, some of them thinking aloud how he would need to go looking for things to prepare. The idea began to snowball until Hagakure stopped it, suggesting that they all went on a shopping spree together on their day off tomorrow. The idea was met with no resistance except for Bakugo, who couldn't be bothered, and Todoroki, who was going to visit his mother. The very next day, majority of Wano was gathered in the Kiyoshi Ward shopping mall, all ecstatic to be on an outing together. However, the togetherness of the group quickly fell somewhat apart as they all split into groups to look for stuff to buy, leaving Izuku all on his own. The jungle-haired boy was shocked out of his slightly dazed state at being left alone by a voice calling out his name. Thinking it was just another fan of his class as the man the voice belonged to rambled on. The teen had mostly tuned him out, until the man had said something about seeing him again. The hero student's body stiffened as he felt 4 fingers curl around his neck and his eyes flicked to his peripherals, seeing a familiar face. Tamura Shigaraki was right in front of him. "Now calm down, Izuku Midoriya. I'm just an old friend you met at the mall, aren't I? So wipe that look off your face. I just want to have a simple conversation." As all the fingers on the emerald-eyed male's throat flexed ever so slightly, "And I think it goes without saying what will happen to you if you try to run or fight. You wouldn't dare, even if I fell victim to your quirk. A hero would be here to catch you in a matter of moments." Fierce eyes glared up at the sickly psychopath before him. "In a place like this, you wouldn't be able to get away." The man admitted that he was correct, before gesturing out at all the people before him. He called them sheep, thinking they would always be safe and what easy prey they would make for him. A chill ran down Midoriya's back as he went along with the villain, having no other choice. He listened to the man ramble about how everyone was paying attention to Stain. When questioned shakily by the teen he was holding hostage about why he was so angry, he admitted that the hero killer was not technically part of their organization, and yet had upstaged them entirely. The psychotic man turned back to question Izuku, wondering what he thought about him and Stain, about their ideologies. "I don't like your ideals at all. You are twisted and insane, focused on bringing chaos down on all of Japan, maybe even on a larger scale." At least with Stain, he and I shared something in common. Viridian eyes seemed to gain an unearthly glow to them as they met crimson ones just like me. He was inspired by All Might. Although I cannot condone his actions, they have a better motive than what you can come up with. The boy was not expecting a laugh of relief to escape his blue-haired captor, nor the ensuing crazed rant from him. He blamed everything on All Might, the order that the symbol of peace had let bloom all over Japan. Suddenly, the figure hunched over, close to his hostage's ear. "Thank you, Izuku Midoriya, for enlightening me. Don't struggle." Fingers tensed and clenched as the boy attempted to struggle. "You know, I can see now what makes them think you are a worthy candidate for being a villain." Midoriya immediately tensed up, shaken to his core. Who were the people who thought that? Did that mean he was going to be kidnapped? What could he do? "You aren't like some of the others in your class. You're actually pretty smart. Not to mention that quirk of yours, if it was possible." The young man's body seemed to tense further. "I bet you were bullied, weren't you, with your quirk? Everyone saying you were gonna turn out to be a villain. Wouldn't it be so satisfying to watch as they cry out for mercy, begging with you to stop torturing them as they did you so long ago?" The jungle-haired boy felt like his whole body was ice. Fear had taken a deep root in his heart. He was tugged up by the man and gulped silently as he thought he might be taken away, when a familiar voice called out. Momo and Jiru had found him, both noticing the position he was in. 2 pairs of eyes shot over to the hooded figure, recognizing the scraggly, blue hair and crimson eyes. They both got in fighting stances, and Izuku was about to tell them to stop when he was shoved forwards into them. He heard a huff as the man began to move towards the crowd. The relief he felt was stamped out as he heard the villain's parting words. Be ready, Izuku Midoriya. You just may be a villain, yet those words did him in, and the boy's knees collapsed as he began shaking full force, clinging to his classmates like a lifeline. The trio had reported the incident, and the mall had been closed while the police and pro-heroes performed a massive sweep of the area. Nothing came up. Izuku did his best to give Detective Naomasa a good description of Tamura and what the conversation had been about. They exited the building, a familiar voice calling out to him. It was midnight. Zuku, I came as quickly as I could. I'm so glad you're okay. The woman hugged the boy from the side. Genuinely worried. I wish I could have been there to help you, even though I'm not the strongest pro-I. Her protege cut her off and just hugged her back. She shut up and silence reigned for a few moments before the student pulled away. Kakeyama-sensei, I want you to promise me something. Please. A serious look entered the hero's eyes. Hearing the honorific following her name, if I ever become a villain, you have to stop me. Okay, don't let me hurt anyone. The words of the young male dazed Nimari for a moment. She snapped out of it and looked at Tsukachi. The detective told her that Izuku was probably still shaken from the conversation he had with Shigaraki. The woman gently put a hand on her apprentice's shoulder. I can't make that promise, Izuku, because you will never be a villain. Blue and green eyes met each other. You may not have been my student for the longest time, but I feel as though I know you through and through. You have the heart of a true hero. Never forget that. Tears filled the teen's eyes as he gave his teacher one last hug. His name was called from behind him, causing him to turn and see his sobbing mother. The small family embraced as Inko continued to sob. The duo was driven home by a police officer, ensuring they would get home safely. Thank you all for indulging yourselves in the story thus far. I hope you enjoyed it. Now, there are a few more things that I'd like to go over before the video ends. Firstly, we've got a second channel called Anime Deep Dive. Anime Deep Dive goes deep into the facts and lore of a wide variety of anime. It's sure to expand your weeb knowledge for all kinds of series, guaranteed. On top of that, we have a third channel called We The Celestials Naruto What Ifs. It's what we do on this channel already, but in the vast world and lore of Naruto. Go check it out if you're in the mood for some jutsu action. Secondly, on behalf of We The Celestials, I'd like to thank everyone involved in the production of today's awesome content. Their details will be in the description below. Lastly, if you're interested in what we do here at We The Celestials, then I would like to extend out an invitation to join the team. The only caveat being we only accept members 16 years and up to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. Our Discord is an all-around fantastic place to be. Whether you're a fan or looking to join our band of misfits, we're always looking for members to join us. Well, that's it from us for today's video. So, thank you all for watching, and have a great day.